Hello, everyone. Um, Thank you for joining us today for the information session for the Van Lier Fellowship for the Visual Arts. I'm Lisa Gold, A4's Executive Director, and just a quick accessibility check. I am a Hapa, half Korean, half white woman with shoulder length, dark wavy hair, wearing a black sparkly sweater. And I am zooming in from the unceded lands of the Munsee Lenape peoples. If you can, please drop your name in the chat to say hello and introduce yourself. So for those of you who are familiar with A4, you know that we are dedicated to ensuring greater representation, equity, and opportunities for Asian American artists and cultural organizations. And the Van Lier Fellowship is one of our longstanding programs that provides resources and opportunities to foster the development of AAPI creators. This particular fellowship is named for Sally Van Lier, who was an actress and an avid patron of the arts, along with her husband, Edward. And Sally left her estate to the New York Community Trust in order to provide educational assistance and training to gifted young people who aspired to a career in the arts. And to date, the trust has provided more than 2,000 grants to artists all over New York City through this generous bequeath. So before we start, I'm just going to make a couple of quick announcements. We are recording this session and we will post it later on our YouTube channel. If you have questions, please ask them either via the chat or the Q&A function, and we will try to either answer them as they come up or at the end of the session if I miss them while we are going through our presentation. So you can also, we have closed captions, which you can enable by clicking on the CC box at the bottom of the Zoom screen. And we have ASL interpretation today by Pro Bono ASL. Okay, a couple of announcements. We are also accepting applications for the 2022 Jadine Wong Fellowship in Dance and Choreography, which offers the same basic package as the Van Lier Fellowship. And it has the same deadline, Sunday, March 20th at 11:59 p.m. So if you know of any AAPI dance or choreographers, please share the opportunity with them. The link to the information is in the chat. And then on Thursday, March 10th at 6 p.m., we are presenting a program called Artists Working in Community. And that is with Junli Wang from Springboard for the Arts. So if you are an artist who would like to begin doing community engagement work or just deepen your practice working with community, then this is a great workshop for you. Registration information is going to be up on our site very shortly. And with most of our programs, it is free to attend. And finally, we have a limited number of Lunar New Year benefit shirts celebrating the Year of the Tiger for sale. This year's design, which is the second in a series, is by Sungmin on Studio. And the shirts and the hoodies are only available for a limited time, but you can check them out via the link in the chat. So order one today and show your AAPI Tiger Pride while supporting A4. Okay, and now before we start, I want to thank the New York Community Trust for endowing this fellowship and also acknowledge our supporters at Capital One, Con Edison, the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, in partnership with the New York City Council, the New York State Council on the Arts, with the support of Governor Kathy Hochul and the New York State Legislature, the National Endowment for the Arts, the Howard Gilman Foundation, Fiskars, the Ford Foundation, Rockefeller Brothers Foundation, Tiger Foundation, and so many other generous individuals for making all of our programs possible. And additionally, I'd like to thank Priscilla Son for organizing this event today, and our ASL interpreters, Jenna Williamson and Chris Inouye. So I will give a brief land acknowledgement, because before COVID, we would be meeting in the A4 offices, which are on the unceded lands of the Munsee, Lenape, and Canarsie peoples. But since we're meeting virtually, I would like to share a digital land acknowledgement written by Canadian theater artist Adrienne Wong, as we are all occupying different physical spaces. So since our activities are shared digitally to the internet, let's also take a moment to consider the legacy of colonization embedded within the technologies, structures, and ways of thinking we use every day. We are using equipment and high-speed internet not available in many Indigenous communities. Even the technologies that are central to much of the art that we make leave significant carbon footprints, contributing to the changing climates that disproportionately affect Indigenous peoples worldwide. I invite you to join me in acknowledging all this, as well as our shared responsibility to make good of this time, and for each of us to consider our roles in reconciliation, decolonization, and allyship. So now we will get started. Okay, so today's agenda, we will go through the context of the fellowship, the eligibility requirements, the components of the application, selection criteria, the timeline, and then answer additional questions. Okay, our mission, as you know, I said this already, is to ensure greater representation, equity, and opportunities through resource sharing, promotion, and community building. So this fellowship, I said, is a direct part of that, providing resources. So this fellowship is for an emerging Asian American visual artist who seeks to make an impact on the Asian American community and for the development of new or existing work. So we've listed these eligible disciplines. If you have a question or you feel that your work transcends these disciplines or is not listed here, please reach out to us or just type the question in the chat. But we've listed them here: crafts, sculpture, mixed media, digital film, electronic arts, printmaking, drawing, book arts, painting, and photography. Next. Okay, the fellowship. The fellowship is composed of different components. It lasts for approximately 8 months. There is a $6,000 unrestricted cash award, meaning you can use it for whatever you want. There is a career coaching component, an artistic mentorship component, and then a project or a presentation of your work, which can take lots of different forms. So we are not very prescriptive at all. We will work with you to find a presentation, discussion, exhibition, whatever you choose, how you choose to present the work. Okay, next. The application is online. It is, we use the JotForm platform for the applications. If you are not familiar with JotForm, I suggest you go through all the questions first and create your answers on a separate document and then paste them in as you go, or just save constantly, save your work as you are doing it. There will be a review committee, or review panel that will make the selections. Next. Okay, the main components, the timeline. Like I said, this is a very rough timeline, and we are somewhat flexible, but we would like to kind of keep it contained to this 8 months. We begin with a career coaching plan. So you will meet a coach who can help you set goals and make the best use of this fellowship. And then we will partner you with an artistic mentor. It can be of your choosing, or if you don't have someone, we will recommend someone for you. And if we can't get who you select, we will do our best to find somebody that does work with you in your practice. And then again, the public program will take place in the fall. It can be the form of a talk, a presentation, a performance, a screening, an exhibition. We're very open to what that is. But again, we will work with you to find a public program that kind of demonstrates the work that you created or were thinking through during the fellowship process. Okay, eligibility. Just so you know, well, the 4 key components of this are emerging, Asian American, visual artist, and outstanding promise. So we do not set this very specific criteria. A lot of this is pre-established by the trust. So in terms of being Asian American, you just must self-identify as being of Asian heritage. There are multiple ways to identify that through a pull-down menu or self-identifying menu on the application. You must be 30 years of age or younger as of the start date of the fellowship. So we wish we could extend this, but these are the rules. Next, you cannot be currently enrolled as a full-time or part-time student in a degree granting program during the fellowship period. I think that's kind of self-explanatory. You must be a resident of one of the 5 boroughs of New York City. This is critical. And you have to be currently living in the United States and primarily based in New York City during the fellowship period. I know a lot of people have opportunities to go do residencies over the summer or may have moved out of the city due to COVID, but we are hoping that you will be in the city during the bulk of this fellowship program, so you can take advantage of it. Okay, next. You have to be either a US citizen, a permanent resident, a resident alien, or a non-resident alien with an ITIN. And that is solely because we need to have a number to pay you. We try to make this as, again, the criteria as broad and inclusive as possible. Next. Okay, the application. All right, there are 5 components to the application: the narrative questions, letter of reference, resume, headshot, work samples. Okay, the narrative questions, these are probably the key part, the most important part of the application. So we need you to describe your approach to your chosen medium. And we hope this is heartfelt, that this is not academic language, that this is something that you are writing to truly convey your unique approach and your vision. So you can, there is an optional question to describe the influences, legacies, and or heritages in your artistic work. Again, this is not necessary, and if it does not apply, that's fine. You do not need to answer it, but any information that you can provide to the panelists to help them better understand you and your work is going to be to your advantage. Next, professional growth. So we would like a statement describing where you are in your professional and artistic career as an artist in New York City. We are hoping that this is going to help you in your career. That is the point of this. So, let us know where you are. This is not, we're not looking for established artists or necessarily artists that haven't had any experience at all. We want to know, like, truly, how is this going to help you where you are to make sure that it's going to make a difference? So that's actually part of the upcoming goals. How will this fellowship help you achieve those goals? So the first one is just describe who you are, where you are, and then the importance of this fellowship, what you would like to attain by it, with it, and then how it's going to help you. The next statement is to describe an existing body of work or a new body of work that you choose to develop during the fellowship. So if you are sending samples, work samples of an existing body of work, perhaps you want to describe that. And also, if you are interested in developing new work, tell us how it is a departure from what you are currently working on. So we'll talk about this a little bit later, but there needs to be alignment between your work samples and your narrative. So we just want to make sure that we clearly understand what you're making, where you're going, what you're trying to say. Next, community impact. So we would just like to understand how you hope to impact the AAPI artistic community through your work. This, again, you don't have to be, a super community advocate, but, do you plan to give back to the community? Do you just share with us like what this means to you and your engagement or involvement with the community? Okay, and then the fellowship benefits. So this is very short answer, just how you plan to use the funds. Again, there's no good, bad judgment. We're just trying to understand. Like if artists just need to pay the rent, that's totally legitimate, but we want to know that so that we can do emergency grants for housing or whatever. So the information that you provide is going to help us better understand artist needs. Next, okay, letter of reference, resume, and headshot. So your letter of reference is from either an educator or a visual arts professional who is familiar with your work. You do not need to have the director of the Whitney Museum write your letter of reference. It is more important to have somebody who knows you, knows your work ethic, knows what you are about, than to have some kind of prestigious name or university department chair if they don't really know you, okay? Next. Okay, the work samples. So these are really important. We would like a minimum of 3 and up to 7 work samples demonstrating your style and approach to work. So these should be current work samples, ideally within the past 4 years or more recent. Please format them in JPEG or PNG formats. And if you provide video work, if you're a filmmaker or a video artist, or have a video of your exhibition and the video is longer than 4 minutes, then indicate the timestamp of the segment that you want the reviewers to be evaluating. And please include a description of the work samples and why it was chosen. So again, is this reflective of the direction that you are going in, or is it work that you've been doing in the past? So just help us explain or understand a little bit more about the work. Okay, next. So this is what the application looks like when you are in JOT form. So there are some questions that are required, and those are noted with a red asterisk. The other ones are not, but all of the information just helps us help you more. So we request that you fill out as much as you can. So this is where, yeah, these are just the questions where you add your statements. Again, you may want to type them first in Word or Notepad and then paste them in. There are length markers that will tell you, or character count markers that will tell you, let's see. So you know what, Isabel, and Amy, I'm gonna answer these questions at the end because I think other people may have them too. Okay, let's see. So the deadline, as I stated before, is 11:59 p.m. on Sunday, March 20th. So you submit via JOT form. I would suggest not waiting until the last moment in case there's any issues, because we will not be online at 11:59 on Sunday. Okay. Selection criteria. This is what the panelists will be evaluating the applications on. So artistic merit. Does the applicant demonstrate technical skill in their chosen styles? Do the work samples demonstrate a high level of quality or expression? And does the applicant demonstrate a clarity of vision to their approach to their work that is reflected in the narrative, work samples, and the proposed project? So again, be as articulate and clear as possible. Try to avoid the art school jargon if possible. So also, we're going to be looking at the development of work. This grant is supposed to help you create. So, does the work to be created through the support of the fellowship, is it unique, creative? Does it advance your career in some way? Does it show that you're taking a leap or that you want to? If you are continuing on a body of work that you haven't fully investigated and want to spend more time on that, that's completely fine. We just need you to articulate that. Community impact. Again, this is a grant that we want to ensure that the artist is going to stay connected, which is why we want somebody who's living in New York City during the fellowship. So how do you hope to impact the community? Have you worked with the community in any way in the past, shown leadership, or identified as an AAPI artist? And then potential for growth. Why is this award meaningful to you? How is it going to make a difference getting you from A to B or wherever you want to go? And is there a demonstrated commitment to fulfilling both the professional development that we are offering through this grant and also commitment to your own artistic goals? Next. Okay, a few tips which we received from previous panelists. So make sure that you meet all of the qualifying factors. If you have any questions, you can email us or drop them in the link now. Be very clear with your written statements. Again, just short, concise, it's helpful. Panelists read a lot of these applications, so it's very helpful if you can get to the point so that they don't have to try to decipher what you're intending to say, and just write with confidence. And then they're going to evaluate the whole of your application to ensure that the narrative, that the work samples, the work that you're proposing to do is all aligned so that it makes sense. Like I said, if you are planning to do a departure from the work samples that you're showing, just explain that in the narrative, and that's completely fine. But we just want to make sure that it all makes sense. The work samples should be clear. I know not everybody has the capacity to hire, professional photographers or videographers or whatever to document their work, but try to select work samples and images that are clear, that are in focus, that really reflect your artistic vision and the work. And then upload them based on the order that you want them to be viewed. Pretty simple. Okay, the timeline. Okay, so key dates. If you would like to ask questions, or if you would like us to review your application before you submit it, you can make an appointment with Priscilla for March 9th. There are 20-minute sessions. If you do want her to review the full application, you need to send it the Friday before, Friday, March 4th, and then make an appointment for the 9th for her to review it with you, or you can just ask questions. Submissions close again 11:59 p.m. on Sunday, March 20th. We will then take the rest of the month in March and April to sort, process, follow up if anything's missing, share with the reviewers, hold the panel, and then on April 29th, we will notify the selected fellow, and then on May 4th, we will make a public announcement of the award. If you have additional questions, you can email me at lgold@aaartsalliance.org or Priscilla pson@aaartsalliance.org. Put Van Lier question in the subject line just to make sure that we see it and we get to it right away. Yeah, or feel free. So let me see. I know that there are a bunch of questions in the chat. So let's see. Okay, so Zhenzhen asks that you are, hi, we are an art collective. Can one of us apply on behalf of the collective? This is actually, yeah, oh, okay, Priscilla, you already answered that. Thank you. It's based, the fellowship is for an individual artist rather than a collective. So the support, the funding, the mentorship, all of that is really tailored for an individual artist. Amy, you noted that you were born April 1st, or you were born April 1991. I am so sorry, but you are not eligible because you need to be born in May or later. You have to be 30 years of age or younger at the time of the fellowship. And so we try to extend this as much as possible by making it May instead of January, but that's, we've tried to extend this with our sponsor, but we have not been able to. The work samples, Isabel asks, do the work samples have to be from the same project of work or can they be from various unrelated ones? So the work samples are to best reflect you and your practice. Ideally, the work that you choose to undertake during this fellowship will be reflected either in the samples or, as I said, if the work is a departure, then just clearly articulate that in the narrative component of the application. But no, they don't have to be from the same project. They just need to be ones that you select, that you think is your best work. Okay, Grace asks, hi, my name is Grace and I'm a filmmaker. For artists submitting video samples, do we only submit one video sample that is 4 minutes or less? No, I believe we should be able to submit additional samples. Priscilla, can you pop in and just confirm that the application is set up to accept multiple video samples?
Yeah, it can accept up to 7. So we recommend 3 to 7, whether you're working in like painting or a video maker.
Great. Okay, does anyone have any additional questions? Okay, one more question. Is the letter of recommendation required to have my application reviewed? So letter of recommendation required to have my application reviewed during one-on-one office hours? No. If you're having the one-on-one office hours, you can use that however you want. You can use that to ask a question. It's really to go over the narrative, or if you have questions about your work samples, but the letter of recommendation, your resume, your headshot, those don't need to be submitted as part of the application in advance for reviewing with Priscilla to get feedback. Okay, so this is, I think so. If anybody has additional questions, I will try to answer them. Again, you can always email us. And I also want to make sure that you're aware of oh, sorry, one more question. Is there anything the letter of recommendation should specifically talk about? How can I best inform the person writing so they have some sort of framework? So they can talk about why they think you should receive this fellowship. Either they can talk about your work ethic, how you are an emerging artist, you can certainly benefit from this, that you are at a stage in your career where this would be of help. It can talk about how you are an important artist and an asset to the community. So really just review the selection criteria, you can also share that maybe with the person writing the letter of recommendation. And then they can use some of those criteria to frame the recommendation. I hope that helps. Okay, so I just wanted to tell you about Creatives Rebuild New York. I hope you've all heard of it. It is a grant. There are two different components. There is a guaranteed minimum income component for New York-based artists. It is $1,000 a month for 2 years, no strings attached. You can apply for that. Or there is an artist employment program. And so for that, you have to partner with a nonprofit organization. And that is a salary of $65,000 a year. There are very few of those that are going to be awarded. And it is throughout the state. I'm sorry, I said New York City, but it's New York State. And so you can take a look at the criteria, but just if you don't know about it, you should. And I think it will point, even if you apply, they try to keep the application relatively simple. And it just points to the need that artists have for supportive income. So I encourage you to apply. So with that, if there are no additional, okay, what's considered a visual arts professional? I'm sorry, Isabel, can you clarify, is this for the letter of recommendation? Okay, yes. It can be a practicing artist. It can be an academic. It could be someone who works at an art institution. So it's just someone in the field who has knowledge of your work and can attest to its excellence in relation to other work in the field. You are welcome. Okay. I think I'm going to give it one more minute for any additional questions.
So Harley has a question in the Q&A.
Oh, okay, great. Harley wants to know, if you want to do an exhibition for the presentation, should we use the stipend as part of the exhibition costs? Well, we offer a small amount of production funds for your project. It's pretty small. I think it's between $500 and $1,000. You can use those funds however you want. So again, we don't want to be prescriptive about that. So, the funds are really there to help you in your career and help you achieve the goals that you set out to achieve. If your goal is to create an epic exhibition, then sure, it's fine to use it for that. If it's not, then don't feel compelled to list the exhibition as how you're going to spend it. It's really up to you. Okay. And again, if you have questions that we didn't answer, did somebody raise their hand? No? Okay. Okay. Well, like I said, if we didn't get to your question or something comes up while you are filling out the application, please reach out to us. Please don't wait until Sunday afternoon. We are not going to be checking our email on the 20th. We are not going to be checking our email on the 19th. So please get your questions to us in advance and try to take advantage of those office hours if you can, if you have any questions. All right. Again, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jenna. Thank you, Chris, appreciate it. And all right, everyone, have a great day and good luck.
Thank you.